I see, and I do believe Mitch Young, candidate for the insurance commissioner, is with us. Is he not, Perez?
There he is.
There he goes. Thank you, sir. Hi, Mitch. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. For the limited time we have, I want to make sure that you take advantage of this network airtime across the entire state in the most opportune way that you can. So tell us a little bit about you and why you are running, sir.
Well, I was born and raised as a coastal resident all along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, from Pascagoula to Gulfport, Hurley, Ocean Springs. I spent a little bit of time at my grandparents' cattle farm in Perry County in Richton. And so I'm a veteran of Camille, Frederick, and Katrina. And I know, and a tornado hit our home in Summerall on November 17th of 2006. So I know what devastation looks like. And when I ran for governor in 2015, I had a plan that I thought was pretty good. And one of those platforms, one of the planks in the platform was insurance reform. And I've been studying insurance now for quite a many years. And while I was in the Navy, I retired from the Navy in '99 aboard of John C. Stennis. And when I retired from the Navy, of course, I moved back home to Mississippi. And I realized that I'd lived in a bunch of different states and visited places all over the world. And actually, there's some places that do things better than us in certain situations. And one of those situations is insurance. And I spent a lot of time studying what was going on, and developed a plan that I think that could properly reform and properly regulate the insurance industry to avert a pending disaster, if you ask my opinion. If you look at what's going on in Florida right now after Hurricane Ian, insurance companies pulling out of the state, there's people standing there not knowing how they're going to pay for their damage on their homes. FEMA's probably going to have to step in and take over, but that's tax money. And then, California, you got Allstate and State Farm pulling out of California. And I think that's a reset. I think they'll eventually go back. But when they do, it'll be a 500% increase in their premiums. On the Mississippi Gulf Coast right now, you pay home insurance and you pay flood insurance. So there's that. And, you got FEMA restrictions on almost everything that's going on down there. I've attended 2 events in Hancock County in the last couple of months, and it's a struggle to try to recover from a hurricane, even with insurance. And I'm thinking after the next one, there's going to be a lot of serious problems.
Mitch, let me just interject here. Do you think that some of those regulations are not needed as far as improving the safety?
Well, absolutely. I don't think they're needed. Because of the way they're implemented. It's part of the process to build your house. Now, they have standards. I understand that elevations and things like that. But
where do you see the biggest discrepancies or inequities happen to be in the health industry, the auto insurance industry, or maybe the flood, or all three?
Well, it's actually across the board, because if you look at the McCarran-Ferguson Act of 1945, which was Congress passed a law to deregulate the insurance industry. The regulation of the insurance industry fell to the states. It fell to the insurance commissioners and the divisions of insurance in each individual state. That goes back to what I talked about before of living in 5 different states in this country and knowing and paying insurance in every one of those states, and I did it differently. And I think that the insurance industry has basically been allowed to run buck wild over the people. When I got a haircut in January, I was talking to my barber, whose barbershop is right next door to the SuperTalk station in Oak Grove in Hattiesburg. And he was telling me that his mother is 80 years old, and her home insurance went from $1,600 to $3,200 a month. a year. So, if you're living on a fixed income on Social Security or something like that, you struggle to pay your bills to start with. And without regulation of the insurance industry, I just think it's going to get worse.
But it's a catch-22 thing. Is if the market, if you suppress the market through your whatever you can do as an insurance commissioner.
No.
You cannot force the insurance company to stay in that state. They'll put out, and if they do pull out, then what is left is going to normally get probably more expensive.
Well, that's because you're thinking of it the way that everybody else thinks of it.
All right, so how should I think about this?
Well, insurance, for the most part, insurance hasn't changed since Benjamin Franklin made the first. He's the father of insurance in the United States. He came up with the New York Fire Insurance Company. I don't know what it was, but he was the father of insurance in this country, and basically ever since then it's changed. Now, obviously, I believe we do have some climate change going on and some things that are making some storms worse. But one of the things that makes it look worse than it really is, and I know it's bad, but there are so many more people in this country now. I mean, there are small towns everywhere, so it's almost impossible for a tornado not to hit something when it goes through. Back 150 years ago in Mississippi, 10 tornadoes could go through the state and not hit anybody. Now it's going to hit somebody. Rolling Fork, Silver City, my heart goes out to them. But I think the best way to deal with situations like that is a strong preparation, not a weak response. I've part of my plan is to build a rapid response team to a natural disaster like that should be the envy of the whole country. My military experience will allow me to do that. And I know a couple of great guys that could head that up.
Do you have any idea how much it's going to cost that you got to go to the legislature to get?
It's not going to come from the legislature. It'll come from the insurance industry. Because, like I said, it's going to. When I reform the insurance industry,
this will be supplemental to PETA or MIMA.
I hope.
Not PETA. I'm sorry, FEMA or MIMA.
I hope
not PETA.
I think those are intrusive on the state. It's basically Washington intruding on us as property owners and landowners and getting into our business. And they gave that up in 1945 when they did the McCarran-Ferguson Act. So I think that the Commissioner of Insurance with MID, they got a $19 million budget. They ought to take the bull by the horns and basically totally change and reform the way insurance is collected, invested, held, and paid out. The process is bad. Insurance is a necessary evil. I understand that. But like in my case, my home insurance went up $4,000 this year. Basically $400 a month. So I changed insurance companies. I was able to do that and save a lot of that cost. Somebody living on a fixed income is not going to be able to do that. And what's their recourse?
Go ahead, sir.
Well, if insurance was processed differently than it is, you wouldn't have those issues.
All right, give me an idea what you're talking about changing, though. I'm a little confused. How would you change the format of this or the foundation of how we now buy insurance and how we market insurance in a competitive basis within the confines of the state law and federal law?
Well, obviously those laws are going to have to be negated or changed. And that's going to have to be working through the legislature, and the governor and lieutenant governor and all that.
What would you do with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Well, insurance companies, they'll still be there. They'll still be in business. My point is, the insurance, the way it's done right now, is not sustainable. If it were, they wouldn't be pulling out of states after a natural disaster. I can't really say what my plan is because, in my mind, there's two ways to implement this plan. One of them is through the Department of MID, Mississippi Insurance Division or Department, through the Office of the Insurance Commissioner. That's why I'm running for Insurance Commissioner, because I think I've got a plan. I think it will work, and I think every coastal state will adopt it.
You're running in the primary, the Republican primary?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, but you understand you're doing a little like Nancy Pelosi saying that elect me and then I'll show you my plan.
Well, I understand that, but I was getting to the next point. The next point is the other way to do this is through the market. Okay, now, if you ever heard of a little insurance company called Esurance, they were just a little company and they were doing things, and all they were competitive to Allstate. But when they got into 32 states, Allstate said, "Look, these guys are going to take over and ruin us." So basically, they paid $1 billion for it. So what I'm afraid of is if my plan gets out there, you've got the insurance companies right now who are not regulated. They don't want to be regulated. They don't want to be changed. They like it is. They're awash in cash. And, the fact that they're giving that much money to all these re-election campaigns is ridiculous. You're taking money from a company you're supposed to be regulating. How does that look?
Mitch Young, and before we go, make sure people know exactly where to get you on the internet.
Well, I don't have a website right now, but I've got a man working on it, and I should have one in a few days.
Well, the primary's in a few days.
I understand that.
I would have bought some insurance against that. Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Mitch Young, candidate.